Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, coming at you with the Royal Rumble 2021 prediction slash preview video that I'm doing on the channel. Before we get into it, if you'd like to support me and the channel, you can do so over at Patreon. First link in the description. If not, that's a-okay. Let me know what your guys' predictions are down in the comments, and then if you like the predictions video at the end of the video, leave a like and all that shit. But without further ado, let's jump in. I'm recording this on Saturday, January the 30th at 6 p.m. roughly Eastern Standard Time. So I don't know who the number 30 is yet for the Women's Rumble because that's happening later on. I'm recording this before that match between Tamina and Nia, which, by the way, fucking hilarious that they think either of them is an enticing number 30, but Vince McMahon. So I don't know who the number 30 is for the Women's Rumble, and if any other matches get added to the card between now and tomorrow when it airs, when it goes live, then obviously it won't be included in this video. But I guess with that out of the way, there are, it looks like 6 matches confirmed right now. That I can see, the 2 Rumbles and then 4 actual matches, and then yeah, so we'll start off with, let's start off with the one that's probably maybe more likely to go on first, just because it's the least interesting one. Women's Tag Team Champions Charlotte Flair and Asuka defend their championships against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. This one's weird because there's been next to no build to it, which I think is kind of weird. Like I said, they put Charlotte and Asuka together. Then they, at the beginning, because Charlotte returned at TLC obviously to help Asuka. Then they were teasing Charlotte being like the fake friend and using Asuka, and then they seemingly dropped that to instead do Charlotte needs to, prove herself again, even though they did that angle years ago already with Rick and Lacey, and then they involved Asuka with the Fiend stuff with Alexa Bliss. So, yeah, it's an interesting one because there hasn't really been build, and before then, Shayna was just kind of doing single stuff with Mandy Pacquiao. Actually, he's in the women's division. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, Sasha, wow, I'm butchering all these names, bro. Yeah, Shayna was kind of doing like a 2-on-1 kind of program targeting Dana and Mandy because Nia was just not involved. So I think maybe they had different plans, and then just midway through they were like, oh, let's switch it up or something like that. So I'm not really sure what they're doing with it. I think they are going to split Charlotte and Asuka sooner rather than later. I don't know if they'll give the titles back to Nia and Shayna at the Rumble, so I think maybe we'll see a retention, and then maybe but that's the I don't know. This one's kind of 50-50 just because it depends on what they do with the Rumble situation. Then again, they could switch titles on Raw or SmackDown. That's another thing. Because depending on what happens with the Rumble, you don't really know what Charlotte's doing. I have a thought of what they might do that really just does not do anything for me, but I know it's something that Vince would do, and given current events and recent happenings, I think it's something that's very possible. But I don't know. This one's kind of a toss-up for me, just in the sense that it depends on what they do with the Women's Rumble. If there was no chance of something that's been rumored for the Women's Rumble, then I would say a retention. But I don't know. Yeah, no, that one is actually a 50-50. Let's just go fucking Nia and Shayna just because honestly, having the tag titles on Charlotte and Asuka does nothing for the tag titles. They're not even a tag team on television. They don't appear together. They don't cut promos together. They don't wrestle together. So it's not really doing much for the tag team titles. when Asuka comes out for her stuff with Alexa, she didn't even bring the tag title out with her. I think she just had the women's title with her, and she left the tag title in the back. So I think maybe it might be better for the tag titles to put them back on Nia and Shayna, even though I hate Nia, but then you could get them onto somebody else through Nia and Shayna or something. So I think maybe I'll go with Shayna and Nia to win the titles back, just because you kind of... I'll do a conditional. I will do a conditional prediction. I'll do, if Ronda wins the Rumble later, right, then I'll say that they lose the titles. But if Ronda doesn't get involved, then I think they're going to keep the titles for now, is what I think they're going to do. So it all depends on Ronda for me, whether or not she does get involved, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, so I'm kind of breaking the rules in the very first prediction, but it's conditional for me because I'll get to it with when we get to the Women's Rumble. But yeah, so I think yeah, if Ronda's involved, I think they lose the titles tonight. If she's not involved, I think they keep the titles. So that's going to be my prediction for that match. Let's go on to the next one, which we'll go ahead and do as Sasha and Carmella. I think this one's fairly straightforward unless they throw in a curveball for the sake of a curveball, which WWE is known to do. I'm a big fan of throwing in curveballs and surprises and stuff if they make sense. But a lot of the times they just throw in surprises to be like, ha, you didn't see that coming. And then people are like, yeah, nobody saw that coming because it doesn't make any logical sense to happen. It doesn't really benefit anything. But I do think Sasha will retain. I think Carmella's kind of had her momentum kind of drop since TLC. I think they did a good job of repackaging her and rebuilding her with the backstage assaults and stuff like that. Leading up to that match, and they kind of did this backwards though. They did the personal grudge feud part for the first match, and then they did the hey, I earned the match for the second match. You'd think that they would have had Carmella earn the first match at TLC, come up short, and then make it personal by attacking Sasha to goad her into another title defense. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a weird, they kind of booked it backwards for me, in my opinion. So I think that's kind of taken the momentum away from Carmella, because she had all that momentum from the, assaults and stuff like that. And then they had her pick up that tag team win against Sasha after Reginald got involved. And then Carmella hasn't wrestled a match since, and Sasha's only wrestled one match since, which was against Reginald, which I didn't have a problem with the match against Reginald. It's just, if that is your champion's only match before a title defense, it's kind of weird. Like, they should probably be wrestling a bit more, just to kind of give them each some more momentum. So yeah, I don't know. If they would have done this backwards, you could have had the TLC one, after Carmella gets some wins, earns a title shot kind of thing, and then make it personal after coming up short kind of thing, and then boom, you're in this match with a grudge feud at the Royal Rumble. So yeah, just because of how little momentum Carmella has going in, and how they've seemingly taken away her entrance. We'll see if they have fully taken away her special entrance tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this. I don't really know when you're going to be watching this, but just based on the fact that her momentum's kind of been taken away, they're kind of taking away her entrance, which makes her really unique. I feel like either something happened where they stopped believing in her as much, or they just kind of had a change of plans or something, and they aren't as high on her as much. It wouldn't make much sense for her to win, which probably means she will, because WWE. But I think even with WWE trying to throw curveballs in there, it makes much more sense for Sasha to be women's champion going into Mania, because you could have her and Bayley at Mania if you wanted. You could have her and Bianca at Mania, or you could have a triple threat if you wanted to do that. So you have a lot of options with Sasha for Mania that make a lot of sense. And as much as I like Carmella's new repackaged character, I really don't think I want to see her as women's champion right now. And that's because they deflated her immediately upon inflating. That sounds very weird. They kind of like stopped her momentum right after giving her momentum, which is a typical WWE thing. You bring back this new act, you repackage it, and then, oh shit, put it against somebody else who can't lose, and then something has to give, which, they don't really seem to care about ruining their own star's momentum. So yeah, I think this one's fairly straightforward. I think it's Sasha Banks. I think probably a clean win, or if not a clean win, maybe they do Reginald trying to help Carmella and it not working, and then Sasha takes advantage or something like that. I don't think they're going to do 3 matches between them with Fastlane. I think they'll find something else for Sasha at Fastlane, but yeah, that's I think that one's fairly straightforward. I think Sasha is winning that one. Then let's move on to the WWE Championship match. Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg. The same Goldberg who recently on the bump said that today's wrestlers are thin-skinned after almost legitimately fighting Riddle backstage for calling him bro. That Goldberg, the same guy who literally comes in whenever there's a champion that the fans really love and wins the title off of them. I'm worried about this one for a couple of reasons, because whoever wins, I feel like we might see a shit show in the Men's Rumble. Because if Drew wins, they might do the 80s and early 90s thing that Vince loved to do, which is repeat matches at WrestleMania, the same main event 2 years in a row, which, in the 80s and 90s, yeah, that works. I mean, your roster's thin. You don't really have a lot of people. The internet's not a thing, so people don't randomly blow up with exposure, whatever. It's 2021, so I'm hoping he doesn't do that, and we'll get to that for sure. And just from a more basic perspective, like not worrying about what they're going to do at Mania and with the Rumble winner, it makes no sense to have Goldberg go over, which again leads me to believe that he will. It's just there are so many things that they could do, which are really worrying. They could end up doing champion versus champion at Mania, Goldberg and Roman, because they weren't able to do Goldberg and Roman last year because Roman was like, hey, I'm not going to get COVID and infect my family to, fight Goldberg. Peace out. I'm done. You know what I mean? The only thing that I can see in Drew's favor is that Drew is a Vince McMahon guy. Long hair, tall, jacked, big dude, athletic, you know what I mean? Like, he is a WWE guy. He's also an indie guy. He's also a hardcore wrestling fan guy. Drew is really perfect for the WWE because he has a lot of things that Vince wants, and he also has a lot of things that the fans want. So there's no kind of like, okay, Vince loves them, but we hate them, or we love them, but Vince hates them kind of thing with Drew, I feel like. So I think Drew has a better chance of retaining the title than, let's say, Kevin Owens or Bray Wyatt did. Or I guess Bray was the Fiend when he lost the title, which, by the way, what a character assassination, having him jobbed a fucking 50-year-old man or whatever the fuck. So in terms of Drew kind of being a Vince guy, I think maybe Drew will retain. I think maybe they maybe want to really put over Drew and they ask Goldberg to come do the job. The only thing, Goldberg's going to win, isn't he? Goldberg never really just shows up and does one match and then fucks off. He does a couple and then leaves, which means he's going to win the title, and then he's going to drop it to somebody at Mania. So, I don't know. I'm going to foolishly, optimistically say that Drew will win as my prediction. But if I'm being completely cynical and completely logical and completely, rooting myself in the fuckery that WWE pulls on a weekly basis, it is very plausible that Goldberg is going to win. So, yeah, this one, if it was somebody else on the roster, that if it was like Randy, for example, and they kept the title on Randy and they didn't put it back on Drew, Goldberg would be winning 100%. I wouldn't give Randy a chance. Anybody else pretty much on that roster, I would say like, okay, they don't really have any chance. Goldberg's winning. But the fact that Drew is a Vince McMahon guy leads me to believe that he might actually win. So I'm gonna foolishly but optimistically pick Drew as my winner, but I will not be surprised if Goldberg wins, unfortunately, and derails yet another promising star that the fans love, and Vince hates them because the fans love them. So yeah, I think I'll go with Drew. Foolishly and optimistically. Then we have the Universal Championship match, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. They keep talking about how this is the main event. I hope it's not. The Rumble should always be the main event no matter what is on the card. I don't give a fuck if you give me Undertaker versus Sting at WrestleMania. The Rumble is bigger than that. The Rumble match, main event's Rumble. I think they did it one year where Kurt and Mark Henry main evented the Rumble because they had Undertaker do his big return and shit at the end and all that. Or maybe not a return, but like he did the lightning shit on Kurt or something like that. I don't really know because I think him and Kurt ended up going at No Way Out for the world title. But in the 2006 Royal Rumble event, the Rumble wasn't the main event, right? It was Kurt and Mark Henry. So. And that's nothing against Kurt and Mark Henry. Like I said, Undertaker and Sting, never before seen. Rock Austin, Rock Hogan Austin. I don't give a fuck what's on the card. The Royal Rumble match should go on last at the Royal Rumble. That's just my opinion. So I really hope the last man standing match, as much as I love Roman Reigns, which I never thought I'd say in my life, having hated him. Well, not him, but his booking, obviously. Having hated his booking and hating what they did with him for so long, I never thought I'd say I'd love his character and love what he's doing. But I do love what he's doing. I love the Tribal Chief gimmick. I love all that shit. I love Kevin Owens. He's great. And he's a very, very good, sympathetic, relatable babyface right now, which I always thought when he debuted, I was like, oh, he's such a good heel. I don't know if I'd want to see him face, but like this version of Kevin Owens as a face is so good. So I'm really enjoying that. But in terms of who's going to win, I think this one's fairly straightforward again. Like the women's title match, I think Roman has to retain. Roman's doing the best work of his career. Roman is doing really, really good shit. And Roman, in a way, kind of needs the win. And he doesn't need the win in the sense that he hasn't won in a while, blah, blah, blah. He needs the win in the sense that he has 2 wins over Kevin Owens for the championship, but they were both as a result of family interference. He needs another one that needs to be fairly clean. Like maybe have Jay come down. Actually, I think I've heard or read something that he might have gotten COVID or been in contact with someone who has it. But maybe you have somebody from the family, if Jay's available, maybe have him run down and Roman be like, no. I don't want help. I don't need help. Go back. He's mine. He's all mine kind of thing. And then, beat Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens has been put over massively in this rivalry. I think they've booked it really well in terms of the actual wrestling because Kevin Owens has been, toe-to-toe at the same level as Roman Reigns. He's had both title matches won before family interference. So you know what I mean? And they've built on that. They've used that for the build towards the Royal Rumble. He says he has 2 wins in his mind. So I think the logical conclusion and the best conclusion here is Roman retaining. I think Roman should probably hold that title until maybe Big E is ready for the main event, and then they can have Big E take it off him. Maybe SummerSlam, maybe a little bit after SummerSlam, maybe a little bit before SummerSlam. It depends. Hopefully when there are fans back, Big E can get that the Universal title win. Unless they switch the brands and then they put him over to Raw, which is going to suck because they'll ruin him because Vince will have hands-on control. But I think Roman Reigns is a fairly straightforward pick for this one. Kevin Owens doesn't really need the win. Kevin Owens has been put over massively. Roman should not lose the title anytime soon, regardless of who he's facing. So Yeah, I think Roman Reigns gets the win in that one. Now let's move on to the Women's Royal Rumble match. Let me pull up the announced participants so far. So the following are currently announced or have declared or whatever for the Royal Rumble: Shayna Baszler, Alexa Bliss, Peyton Royce, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Tamina, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott. Did I say Natalia? They didn't put Natalia in that list on their website, so maybe maybe Natalia, maybe that means Natalia is winning the number 30 spot, or maybe that means she's losing and she's not going to be in. I'm going to assume she's going to be in anyways, but yeah, those are the ones that have been announced so far. In terms of who's going to win the Women's Rumble, I think there are a couple picks. Mainly one pick that makes the most sense and they should go with. And then I think there are a couple picks that terrify me because, Vince McMahon. So we'll start with the picks that, that I think makes the most sense, which I believe to be Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair has been raising her star power recently. She just got a big win over Bayley clean as a whistle on the Go Home SmackDown. And she's improving every day. She has all the things you need for a star in that division. So she's on the rise, and I think they should just strap the rocket to her, give her the Rumble win, and then send her to Mania and do that real quick. And then you could do Bianca and Sasha at Mania, which would be a fantastic match. If you wanted to kind of protect Sasha, you could put Bayley in there as a triple threat somehow, and then have Bianca maybe pin Bayley. And then you can have a match with Sasha and Bianca singles with Sasha saying, hey, you got my title, but you didn't pin me. So I want another shot one-on-one for my title. And then you can put Bianca over like that. So you could put Bianca over twice, a Mania win and then a defense against Sasha, and then kind of keep going from there. I do think Bianca is, again, she is a star in the making. She has all the things you need, all the assets you need to be a star. Incredibly athletic. She's not the finished product. She's not a Sasha Banks in the ring, but I mean, she's good and she's constantly improving. Her promos come across as genuine, which is very good. It's a lot easier to hate somebody or believe in somebody when they feel genuine instead of they're reading from a script. Because when you feel like you're reading from a script, you're like, okay, this isn't real. Why do I care? When somebody speaks genuinely, you're like, I know this isn't real, but it suspends your disbelief kind of thing. You know what I mean? So she has that really rare thing nowadays, I think, where she sounds natural speaking in her promos, which is good. She has a good look, her attire, her build. She has a really unique asset in the terms of her hair being so long and using her hair for offense and spots here and there. She has so much going for her as a future star in the women's division. So I think she is the best and most clear and most logical option by far to win the Women's Rumble. Now, with that being said, Vince McMahon doesn't give a fuck about all that. Vince McMahon gives a fuck about what he wants to do and doesn't give a shit about anybody else. So I think that there are two possible outcomes that fucking stink for the Royal Rumble. Now, one of them is Ronda Rousey, and then one of them is Charlotte Flair. And I'll explain my thought process behind both. Charlotte won the Rumble last year. The Women's Rumble is fairly new, right? They had 2018, 2019, and 2020, right? Asuka, then Becky, then Charlotte. There has yet to be a two-time winner. There is Charlotte Flair, who they're giving a lot of records to, Grand Slam champion, accolades, all that shit. Vince McMahon would probably rather go bankrupt than have Charlotte Flair put somebody over clean. So it makes a lot of sense to me from a Vince perspective that they would give Charlotte 2 wins in a row. You know they wanted to give Charlotte that Mania win in 2019 when Becky got fucking majorly over. Remember that win? You goddamn know they wanted to give Charlotte that win because they wanted Charlotte and Ronda. And then Becky was like, hey, I'm the hottest thing in the company. You can't ignore me. And they're like, okay, yeah, you can get the Rumble. Then we're going to jumble up the booking, make it a complete mess, and shove Charlotte in there for no reason. And Charlotte didn't even take the pin. She just got put in there. So it would make a lot of sense to me from a Vince McMahon standpoint. Charlotte wins the Rumble, then she has tension with Asuka. If Charlotte wins the Rumble, like I said, if Ronda wins, they would lose the titles tonight. But if Ronda doesn't win and Charlotte wins, Charlotte and Asuka defend the championships tonight. Charlotte wins the Rumble match, then you build tension between Asuka and Charlotte, lose the tag titles at Elimination Chamber, and then have Charlotte turn. Or maybe Asuka turn, but that would be awful because Charlotte's an awful face. It would be awful even with Charlotte turning because I don't want Charlotte in another fucking marquee match at WrestleMania. I don't give a fuck at this point. Give other people opportunities. Have one of them turn, then they have the title match at Mania, right? Very, very simple booking. It's logical booking in terms of, hey, tag team partners, I want your title. I have an opportunity at your title. Why should I trust you in this tag match? Why should you trust me? We're definitely not going to be on the same page. We're going to lose. Well, it all makes sense. It's just, I personally don't want it. I think a lot of people don't want it. But it is a possibility because it's Charlotte Flair. She would be the first 2-time champion and the first back-to-back champion for the Women's Rumble because they always tout like, oh, Hogan, Michaels, Austin as multiple-time winners, and then Austin's the only 3-time winner. I feel like Charlotte will be a 3-time winner before she retires, unfortunately. But what the other option is Ronda Rousey. Now, there were rumors earlier in the week that she was going to win, and then there were rumors, I think, a couple days ago or yesterday or something that said she was not currently booked, along with Becky Lynch, and then somebody for the Men's Rumble who was also rumored, which we'll get to, which you probably already know. The reason I haven't mentioned Becky is she just had a kid, like a month or two ago. If Seth's not back, she's not back. I feel like they probably want to spend time with their kid a little bit more. They just had the kid, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be plus she's probably not in ring shape because she was pregnant for 9 months, and then you can't just immediately get back in the ring after being pregnant for 9 months, right? So I feel like not only does she probably not want to come back right now, but I don't think she'd be in the ring shape to come back right now. So I'm kind of excluding Becky from this. Maybe after Mania, maybe a Raw after Mania return for Becky might be a little bit more reasonable, and I think that would be really cool. Kind of bring back the charm and luster to the Monday after Mania because I don't think last year's was all that great. But Ronda, apparently she's not booked. Her contract apparently ends in like March or something. But the thing with Ronda for me, and the reason I think, okay, maybe they will do it is because Charlotte did an interview recently where she said, Ronda's great, but WWE doesn't need her. So what they could do is Ronda wins the Rumble. Charlotte and Asuka lose the titles now. Charlotte wins the title off Asuka at Elimination Chamber, or maybe in an Elimination Chamber match, but regardless, Charlotte wins the title at Elimination Chamber. Oh, what do you know? Ronda and Charlotte like Vince wanted 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I can definitely see that happening as well. So unfortunately, those are both possibilities. I really don't want them to happen, but I think they have a good chance. But my personal pick, who I want to be, is Bianca. And I think maybe they will do the right thing and go with Bianca, mainly because they're still building the Lacey and Charlotte story, so I think they have a little bit more of that to go. Maybe like Lacey versus Charlotte at Chamber or something, or maybe they do Charlotte and Asuka in the Chamber together with Lacey and all that. They combine the feuds and then have Charlotte like kind of Iron Man the Chamber, and then Asuka end up winning, and then Charlotte be like, hey, I beat all those people. If this were a different kind of match, I'd be champion. So what do you say? Give me a one-on-one shot. And then they do it that way as like a friends kind of thing, and then they turn them at Mania or something. That's another thing that they could do. But yeah, I think they'll make the right choice for this one, for this Women's Rumble, and go with Bianca. I hope to fuck they do. So that's going to be my prediction, but we'll have to wait and see, because the other two I think are very plausible. But yeah, Bianca is my prediction and my pick and whatnot. And then now time for the Royal Rumble match, the men's Royal Rumble match, excuse me. The following superstars have declared for the Royal Rumble match. This is according to WWE.com. Published on fucking December 25th. That's out of date, isn't it? No, it's not. Okay, it might be a little bit. Anyways, Randy Orton, Edge, AJ Styles, Big E, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, Bobby Lashley, Jey Uso, Cesaro, The Miz, John Morrison, Otis, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler, and Mustafa Ali are the, I guess, announced people for the match. They haven't announced Braun on here, but Braun's going to come back because he, returned on SmackDown. Braun's going to be in the Rumble. In terms of the men's Rumble, there are quite a few people that I think it could be. I think that Daniel Bryan is practical. I think that Sheamus is a dark horse pick. I think that AJ is maybe an outside kind of pick. I would love it if it were Lashley and we could get Drew and Lashley at Mania. But I don't think they'll do that, personally. I think Edge is a possibility as well. But obviously the big rumors are that Brock's going to come in at number 30 and fuck up everybody and win, which is very, possible, unfortunately. Repeat Mania main events or repeat Mania title matches, once again, 80s and 90s, yeah, you could get away with it. You had a few shows a year, whatever. You have a show every week. The fans pick up to people every week because of advanced technologies. Different people get over. Different people do this and that, this and that. Repeat Mania matches don't typically work nowadays, especially when they're with people that the fans don't really care about, and when the build is not exceptionally good. If there's like a long-term build to it, then like fair enough, right? It can be very good. But just being like, hey, we're going to do this match here. One of the guys is going to fuck off and then come back at the end and then win. It doesn't really think. The only thing that I can see with Brock is he's not under contract, and I don't think that Brock would come back just to win the Rumble and then lose to Drew. I don't think he'd do that unless Vince paid him a whole fuck ton of money, but I don't know if Vince would want to pay Brock that kind of money during the pandemic. But then again, they just signed a $1 billion deal with NBCU for moving the network to Peacock, so he has that money. I don't know. I would like for it to be Daniel Bryan. Big E, obviously, a lot of people will want to win the Rumble, and as much as I want Big E to win a Royal Rumble, I don't want Big E to win this Royal Rumble, because the problem with Big E winning this Royal Rumble is he either has to go lose to Roman, because Roman should not lose the title at all this year at Mania. Roman should be retaining the title at Mania, or he has to go over to Raw. They'll reunite the New Day, even though they wanted to give Big E his singles push, which, they would fall back on that. He's currently Intercontinental Champion, so he can't even go over to Raw technically. Well, he could, but then you leave a champion not on SmackDown. And then I don't think Drew should lose the championship either at WrestleMania. So you have a situation where the Rumble winner for the men's match probably won't win at WrestleMania. So you need to make it somebody who won't get entirely derailed by failing to capitalize on their Rumble win, which I think the perfect person for that is Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan is a great pick for the Rumble. He has one foot out the door, all intents and purposes, right? He's looking to go part-time and all that stuff. So if he's looking to go part-time, he doesn't need the Mania win because he doesn't need to look strong all the time. He'll just come back here and there, whatever. So he doesn't really need the Mania win. He really wants to win a Royal Rumble, because he never has. And I think, with him getting near the end of his in-ring career and with more and more younger guys kind of getting more opportunities slowly, the time for him to be in the main event is slowly fading away. So why not give him a Rumble win now when he's still full-time, and you know what I mean? And then he's a perfect foil for Roman Reigns. They've been building him and Roman on talking smack here and there with promos between Bryan and Paul Heyman. So I think that Daniel Bryan winning the Rumble and then going to Mania to, lose to Roman, I think makes the most sense. I think Brock coming back just to job to Drew, I don't think Brock would be willing to do it. I don't think that Edge really needs that because it's 2021 and Edge should not have a WWE or Universal Championship match at WrestleMania. I don't think AJ really needs it, and I don't think AJ should get it. I think AJ can do other things instead. I think Big E would get derailed by losing to Roman at Mania. As for my, dark horse in Sheamus, I think they have a ready-built Mania match between Sheamus and Drew. I was talking to some people I'm in a wrestling chat with, and they said that they really don't want to see Sheamus for the WWE Championship. And I said, like in most other instances, I wouldn't either, but like they've been building this for months, slowly with little backstage interactions, them being friends, even though Sheamus was a heel and Drew was a face. And then they've slowly turned Sheamus face, and they might do the thing where like, as soon as you're like, oh, okay, he's finally face, boom, heel turn. There you go. So I think Sheamus is a dark horse. I don't want Sheamus to win the Rumble because it's Sheamus. I don't think he should have won his first Rumble, and I don't think he should win this one. But I do think that him and Drew should be the WWE Championship match at Mania, personally. So yeah, I think Sheamus is a dark horse if they don't want to put SmackDown over too much kind of thing, because the logical explanations for both are a SmackDown win for both Rumbles, and, Vince, he hates SmackDown, so he might do the Ronda or Charlotte thing and then give it to Bryan, or if he does Bianca, he might give it to Sheamus or Brock or something just to kind of even it out because SmackDown can't look strong. Like I said, I would love Lashley, but I think maybe they might save Lashley for after Mania, have Drew retain, and then Lashley be like, hey, listen, a year ago, you beat me. I've become a monster since then. I want another shot, and then he can beat Drew and be WWE champion, and then bring back Brock. Lashley and Brock, fuck yeah, bud. Two big hosses just beating the shit out of each other at SummerSlam. Give me that any day of the week, as long as Lashley wins. Cesaro, I would love to win, but I don't think they're going to push him that heavy yet. I think they're probably going towards Shinsuke and Cesaro at Mania. Miz has the Money in the Bank, so he doesn't really need it. They could do something like Jey Uso, but they already did 3 Jey versus Roman matches, so I don't really need that. Maybe Jimmy comes back and wins, but I don't think that's really necessary. But then they'd have them go to the other brand. But then Jey versus Drew is a throwaway match, really. Sami Zayn would be great just because Sami's great, but I don't think they'll do that. Shinsuke, I don't think they'll give the Royal Rumble. I think they'll give him a shot at Roman at Elimination Chamber. Mustafa Ali would be interesting because then you could do an actual exact kind of mirroring of Kofi Mania with putting Mustafa Ali there. But I think what they're going towards, hopefully, is Mustafa Ali and Kofi singles at Mania, which would be incredible. So I don't think Randy has any chance. I think there's going to be Fiend stuff with Randy, and then Randy and Edge will finally go fully like at it kind of thing at Mania. And then maybe Fiend does another character assassination of somebody in another Firefly Funhouse match or something like that. I don't really know what they'll do with Fiend at Mania, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna go with Brian. You know what I mean? I think I'm gonna go with Brian. And I think I'm going to go with Bianca. So since I went with Bianca as my pick, my tag team title pick officially will be Asuka and Charlotte to retain. And then the women's championship match doesn't change. And then I think Drew still wins, hopefully, and then I think Roman wins, and then, yeah. So Brian, Bianca, Roman, Drew, Asuka, and Charlotte, and Sasha Banks, I guess, are my official predictions for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view 2021. And that is it for the predictions video, it looks like. So a bit of a long one because I ramble and I give my thoughts and, you know, explore alternate things. I didn't just go like, hey, this is my prediction, quick explanation, because I don't know, my brain doesn't really work like that, I guess. I ramble too much. I don't know. A bit of a problem, but whatever, who cares? So yeah, that is the predictions video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would like to check out some of the other stuff I do on the channel, I do some gameplay stuff, wrestling stuff. So there will be a couple links to that at the end cards at the end of the video. If you'd like, whoa, I'm having a stroke. If you would like to support me in the channel, you can do so over at Patreon. First link in the description. If not, that's a-okay. Follow me on Twitter. The link will also be in the description. Please sponsor me, Peace Tea, of course. Got to beg for that sponsorship. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because YouTube likes to zuck your boy and not put my videos in your sub boxes. So by pressing that nice old bell icon, you will get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And yeah, man, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, share to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit. And I'll see you guys next time.
We are number one.